Hey team, it's Joe Mill here with Killer Miller Q. We are back and we're taking on a real challenge today. We've been saving up all these brisket scraps and today we're going to be knocking out some brisket sausage. Come on, let's go. Okay team, okay. It's about time to figure out this magic. As you can see, I ain't got everything laid out pretty today. We got it all in the bowl and we ready to rock. So here is the star of the show. Throughout all of these brisket videos we've been doing, we've been saving these trimmings. And slowly but surely, we have packed ourselves up a mean amount of brisket trimmings and scraps. And that's what we're going to be grinding down today to make these brisket sausage. So one thing that I'm going to let you in on is pretty much from everything I did research wise, there's a lot of different ratios that you need to take in mind. But the ones that seem to make the biggest difference is you want to be getting between a ground of 80-20 and 70-30. 70-30 is probably more what you want for a sausage. So one thing that I will start doing is I'm going to actually purposely, when I start cutting it up, I'm gonna cut off the fat and I'm gonna put the fat in one bag and I'm gonna put the meat over in another one. That way I can have my weight of meat so I can really get pretty close to it and then know exactly how much fat I'm putting in. With that said, usually when people are making sausages, if you're doing a brisket, sometimes you'll see they'll cut up a whole brisket and pretty much you know that that's got a lot of fat on it and you'll end up probably close to that 70-30 ratio. Or if they're doing like pork sausages, they'll use like a pork butt or something like that and they'll usually be fine. So with that said, for today, I'm pretty happy with what we got, and I think I'll be more than fine as far as the amount of fat and the amount of meat that I got, but I will dial that in even tighter. So roughly 70-30 is what we want to go for on the meat. We got about 7 pounds of it. I took the liberty of writing out some of this stuff, so like I said, I wouldn't have to necessarily have everything sitting out here for you today, and plus I can't be out here too long. My meat's going to warm up fast. So I got 7 pounds of meat we looking at there, and then pretty much the next one of those big things that come into play is going to be the binder. So we using dry milk powder, as you might see, is that second thing. Somewhere in between 2 and 4% is usually what I was seeing. I went with 3%. That milk binder is usually all of that deep white stuff that you see in there, the milk powder rather. That is going to work as a binder in here. It's going to make these sausages a little bit more thicker, add a little more protein into them, and they should help keep everything together as far as not being too loose and fatty and juicy and everything like that, or oozing out. From there, so I got 3% of that going in, or went in there. I'm going to be using a mixture. Instead of, you could have used water. Your next big ratio that you're trying to get in is about 10% of your total weight in either water or water and ice or whatever liquid you're going to be using. I'm going to use beef broth today along with some ice. I think that that's going to give me a nice consistent flavor and kind of help me out along the way, make sure I'm not too salty. I wanted to go with the lower end of salt, which is pretty much one of the next things that you got to make sure that you get right is the amount of salt that you actually put in. I wanted to go with the lower level of that, so I only went with 1% of the total amount of weight with the salt. And I actually don't think I even put that on there, but 1% of salt went into this one. Other than that, like I said, you're looking at about 5.5 ounces of both beef broth and ice that's gonna go in later. I got 3 tablespoons of granulated garlic. Pretty much after you figured out what your ratio of meat is and you figured out exactly what your meat weighs in grams, then you're looking at your binder. Like I said, I'm going with 3% of the milk powder, and then your liquid, 10% of the overall weight. And figuring that out, the rest of it comes down to the spices and the taste that you want. So you're gonna kind of have to figure that out for yourself. But I'm going with a more of a savory sausage. If you've seen me cook before, I like a little bit of flavor, so I got a few things that I'm mixing in there. So you see the 3 tablespoons of granulated garlic gonna be in there. I got 3 large tablespoons of coarse black pepper, 3 tablespoons of cayenne, a heaping tablespoon of some dry mustard, 4 tablespoons of paprika. That's gonna give me some nice color. A half a tablespoon of turmeric, a tablespoon and a half of cumin, and a tablespoon and a half of celery seed. Should be good. I'm going to mix this up real nice. Our first project, we're gonna be sliding in and we're gonna be grinding down this meat, and then we'll mix some of that in there together and we'll kind of get everything going. All right, we on the inside. I got that all mixed up, so that's pretty good. One thing that I'll tell you up front, got the casings. Luckily, I'm happy on accident I had to go to a different butcher shop than I normally go to, and the one that I went to is a great butcher shop. And they actually do a lot of live preparing of game meat, so on and so forth. They had a sausage guy right on the spot. Truthfully, he brought these out, told me exactly how much I would need for the amount of sausage that I was going to be doing, and I got one long casing. So I didn't order these off of Amazon. Normally I see how hard it is for people to kind of get the water into them and be able to get those through. And then you getting all that saline and stuff out of there. These actually look pretty clean, and they look like they were ready to go when they actually brought out the ones that I got, and they literally specially packaged it. With that said, if you know what these casings are, you know you got to clean these for yourself. So I already got these in some fresh water hanging out. They're already soaking. We'll get to cleaning those in a little bit. So I wanted to make sure that you did that. Now, quickly, I've already lost a lot of my little bit of a glaze, but we're going to be using the KitchenAid mixer today. I think this is going to be kind of cool. Usually, every time I see this getting done, it's usually somebody using one of the big, the meat mixers with the stuffer and everything. I'm going to rock out on this KitchenAid today. Everything has already been in the freezer. Make sure that it's nice and cold. Let's go grab this meat. Okay, we got the meat out. Just put that back in the refrigerator. Like I said, this is quickly warming up. We're going to be using that coarse dye today. And pretty much we're going to go ahead and just start feeding them through. And then if we need to, we'll push it along. We're going to get everything shredded out. And it's going to get loud, but I'm going to at least let you see some of it. And then from there, if we, that's once we get done with that, we'll get the seasoning on there. We'll start working everything in. We'll get that ice and milk and everything going too. So all I'm about to do is just start getting some of this up here. Let's see what we got. And it begins. Hey, you know, I don't got that much meat. At the end of the day, this will work. It's coming together. And I haven't even plunged it. I'm just feeding it through with my hand a little bit. Let it keep going. Obviously, you know it's going to take a second. I'm about to get two hands on this thing, and I'm about to work through some of this, and I'll show you what I can do. Hey, let me tell you, that wasn't hard at all. I mean, literally, once I got both hands on here, this old KitchenAid knocked this thing right out. It didn't even take me a good 5 minutes. I know there's some that's left in here. I'm going to try a tip that I had heard. Hopefully this don't tear nothing up. We're going to throw a couple ice cubes in the bottom, and then we're going to see if them ice cubes can't push out that last little bit. That's a good tip. Part of the reason too why that's good is, you know, you're gonna need that ice and stuff in there anyway, and that just helps us with getting the rest of that out. So that worked out well so far. I'm liking the KitchenAid. I'm not mad at all. Okay, let me get this cut off, and I'll get this cleaned up and back in the freezer. And then we're going to get to mixing some seasonings. All right, so since we got that chilling back in the refrigerator, I'm about to be throwing this back in the freezer. Now that I kind of got it a little cleaned up, I'm switching over to get ready to start doing some sausage stuffing. So we're going to be going to that there on the inside. And then we'll be covering it up with this right here. And then we'll be all ready to go in a second. Let's get ready to clean out these casings. All right, so now we on to these old hog casings, or should we say pig intestines. So already got these out. Like I told you earlier, I lucked up by going to some place that actually does a lot of packaging and everything themselves. So pretty much these was cleaned out, but we're gonna go through the process to make sure that we got us some good product to start with. Plus, a lot of people I know might be buying them online. You might be getting them in the hard saline solution or whatever. Normally you got to kind of hydrate these things. So pretty much the moment I got to the house, got them out of the water they was in, got them in some clean water. They've been chilling out, and all we're going to be doing now is I got me a bigger thing of a little bit more clean water. I'm going to be transferring these over after I kind of rinse them around, rub them around the outside, make sure there's no salt on the inside, and then we're also going to go ahead and get some water on the inside and kind of balloon them through and let some of that water pass through. I'll start with the clean water and let it all pass back over here into this dirtier side, just so we can clean out the inside as well. And then meanwhile, the meat's kind of hanging out. Everything is back in the freezer, getting everything nice and cold. And I started this water off with a little bit of ice in it, so it'll be nice as cold as well. The key to the game is keeping everything cold so you don't get too much of that clumping with your fat and everything once we get to the point where I've actually starting to pack these sausages. So let me get my hands dirty. All right, I wanted to bring you back. I got this thing cleaned out, but pretty much this is what you're going to be looking at. I'm over here in my clean water now. I get to the end, get this thing where you can get that one end open so you can get some of that water in there. As you can kind of see, that water will pass all the way through and you'll be working it through, so you can keep pretty much just slosh it back and forth a couple times. Make sure that you don't got no water or anything like that on the inside. Luckily, again, I got a great one over here, because hopefully if I don't do anything as far as breaking it when I go to put this on, I got one large long intestine that should be able to take care of me all the way through. So we just like that. I'm gonna leave this in this water, this clean water. Actually, I'm gonna rinse this water out. I'm gonna put some more clean water in here, and I'm gonna let this hang out, and I'm putting this in the fridge as well. Let's get that meat back out and we'll get that seasoning going. Okay, we are back. There goes our 70-30 mixture of the ground brisket and everything. Or said I say 70-30-ish, since I don't know the exact, but I think that's going to be just fine for my sausage at the end of the day. I think I made a mistake too. I told you 1% earlier for the salt. I actually did 1.5% once I went in there and looked. So I'll make sure I throw a correction in there. But 1.5% of salt is what went into the solution. Like I showed you earlier, I mixed this up a little bit so it's already kind of together. I'm basically going to go ahead and sprinkle this right over the whole thing and start kneading this together a little bit. And then once I get it nice and together, I'm going to show you what that looks like. Then we're going to be adding in that broth, and we'll be adding in the ice. Okay, there it is. Hey, I tell you what, this stuff smells amazing already. I feel like I've said this before. I think we own to something. So I gave it about, I don't know, 5 minutes, me just mixing it around with some gloves on and my hands, as my grandmama would say. Getting this all together. Smells great. It's already starting to tack up, but it doesn't have that moisture in there. So I'm about to be adding in my beef broth along with my ice, and letting that to kind of get in here, cool everything back down. You'll start to see some of that fat fibers kind of getting nice and slurried. Usually they say you want to keep going on that mixing until you can, just like that. It should be nice and slow as far as when it releases from your hand. I got me some good mix up here. That means it got a good binder in there. We pretty much ready to go. Right now is a chance for you to actually go ahead and taste your meat, figure out if it's actually where you want seasoning wise, and if you need to, you can add some things into it before you actually go ahead and get to the casing. So pretty much I'm actually going to be pulling some of this out of here and putting it to the side, period, just because I want to be able to have me some sausage meat that I can actually pull out. But pretty much go ahead and pull you some out, make you up a patty, throw it in the skillet, fry it up, taste it. If you like where it's at, you'll be ready to get to the next stage. All right, you are looking at the last little bit of my taster. You know what? My flavor is good. In my perfect world, I would have went with a little less salt, but my flavor is great, and I'm not really mad at where I'm at. I think we're pretty decent. I might add in just a hint of water, not much, so I don't throw my ratio off too much, but it should blend everything down, and we'll be ready to go ahead and get packing. All right, we got the components out of the freezer. I've added on my sausage stuffer, like I showed you. Added a little olive oil to the end of this, so that way we can get these casings to slide off of here real nice and easy and all onto it. So I'm gonna basically take my long casing, I'm gonna open it up. I'm about to be sliding it right over the tip, and I'm gonna push it all the way down. Since I got that one long one, I'm gonna have that one long casing on this whole thing, and then we should be ready to rock. I still got my meat sitting in the fridge so we can stay cold. So let me get that on here, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like. All right, I thought I'd bring you in before I get started, show you the finishing piece. Is it just me, or is that nasty? That is just nasty, man. But whatever. We got that baby on there. One long intestine, or shit, I'm gonna call it pig casing. I'm done calling it intestines. I don't want to even think like that. This baby's dripping off. That's okay. I want a little bit of water down there. I'm about to grab this meat out. We're pushing it back through so we can get another grind in on it, more or less. And we're going to start filling up this casing. Now, the secret, I guess, from what I've heard, from what I've seen, is going to all be in the touch and being able to keep a little bit of tension here so that this can actually fill up nice and big before we continue to move on. I'm going to go with the method that I think that's going to be easier, which is going to be to make one long link and pretty much go with all my meat in there. And then from there, I'll be able to come through and pinch, turn, and kind of go ahead and then tighten them up and get them exactly where I want them to be. Okay, so we about to get down to the magic. I got it out to the tip at least. I pretty much left this open. So what I'm gonna do is kind of pinch it off. I don't want to get too much of it starting off with that air bubble. And then this is about to get nasty over on this end. It's gonna be loud, but we're gonna start feeding it through. And we're gonna try to get this thing to be nice and fat. And we'll go from there. So I'm gonna start feeding through some more and smushing down some more. And we're just gonna wait until we can get it looking like we want it to look as far as the width. And I'm sure this is one of them things that you kind of got to get used to as far as feel, on what feels right, how much to go with. Right now, it looks like I got poopy. There we go. But basically, once I get it all in there, I'll be able to turn around and then shape it up and make it look pretty and all that good stuff is what I'm thinking. Hey team, I want to jump in here real quick and let you know if you are new to the channel, go to that bottom right corner, make sure that you subscribe, check out some of the other videos on the channel, and for everybody else that's been supporting, we have made it to 1,000. You know we got more goals than that, but I appreciate y'all. We do got some cool stuff coming real soon. I'll let you know. Let's get back to the work. Team, I'm here to tell you this old KitchenAid did its thing. We got all that meat in. I made me 3 little small Ziploc packs of just sausage meat so I can pull those out and be able to do like some breakfast sausage, traditional style. But I left it on here just so you can see. This was, man, I forget how long he told me this was. Literally, I only paid like less than $5 for this casing. All one long one. He told me this would be able to do 7 pounds of meat. Like I said, I took some away, so definitely we were able to get it done. But check it out. Obviously, I started off a little ratty. Little boo-boo stains down here, but being that it's not tied off, I'll be able to thicken this all back up and make it all look nice and uniform. But once we got it going, I had to elicit some help from my lady. We kind of more or less was able to get it kind of going, even thickness. It really wasn't too hard at all. I'm not too afraid of this. So what I'm about to do now is I'm about to pull this off. I'm gonna tie it back, and then I'll show you how we put together these links. All right, so you see I got a couple of them done already. I started off with a little small one, and then we're going to come through and prick these, as I can already see a small little air hole right here. So we'll come through with the toothpick at the end, but we kind of got it going. This is what we're going to do. So basically all I'm doing is to make sure I get to the thickness I want. I'm just eyeballing these. I'm not going too crazy. Obviously I'm sealed there. I'm going to pinch. I'm going to reach over, and I'm going over to the next one, and I'm going to pinch. Be careful not to tear your casing up. I'm still a little scary, even though I see people be a lot more hardcore with them. And then from there, you can spin. Pinch, pinch, spin. At the end of the day, when you do it that way, it doesn't matter which way you're going. And all I'm about to be doing is sliding these up on this rack. And they're going to be all ready for when we get done. So let's do another one. You see it's getting thin. I'm going to squeeze some back down that way to kind of plump it back up. I'm pinching one. I'm about to pinch off another, about right there. And we're gonna go ahead and spin. Boom, just like that. I'm about to finish out these last few. We'll come back, we'll prick a couple, and I'm gonna show you that I cleaned this last little boo-boo end up. Hey, check it out. For the first time knocking out some sausage on my own, I am not mad. Especially after tasting these sausage, my flavor is fire. I can tell you that right now. Like I said, I would have wished I would have went with maybe 1.25% of salt, just because I'm not somebody to do a whole lot of salt. But even still, they wasn't bad at all. We just added a little bit of water back to it, so I'm not too worried. It's gonna probably mellow itself out. We looking good. That was pretty easy. I didn't break a casing for my first time through, so I'm proud of that. I do definitely see some areas where I got a little bit of air holes and stuff like that. So we about to just come through. I'll give them a couple little pokes with the toothpick in a couple of areas. Like I know right here you can see a little bit of an air hole. And one thing that's nice is with the way that these casings are, they're going to pretty much heal themselves. So basically, all that's going to do is let a little bit of that air out, give that stuff a little bit of room to escape, so we don't bust open when we go ahead and start cooking these babies. These are about to get pricked real quick fast with a toothpick, like I said. And then from there, I'm going directly into the fridge, just like you see it, uncovered, 24 hours. I'll catch you back tomorrow, and we're going to put a little smoke on these babies. All right, family, it's game time. Of course, the wind picking up a little bit, but these babies is fresh out of the fridge. They've been in there overnight. Look at that beautiful looking color. Nice and plump, daddy. I did give them a couple pokes with the old toothpick. Once we got off, these things got my whole fridge smelling great. I can smell these from right here. I'm definitely happy with what we got so far. It's time to get some smoke on them. I got my Green Mountain coming up to temp right now. I'm gonna be using 180 is what I'm gonna be smoking them along at, and we pretty much want to get them up to about 150. I didn't go with the pink curing salt, so I'm not doing a cold smoke. This is gonna be more of a hot smoke, but I don't want to get them. I don't want to necessarily have it over 200, so I think about 180 should do as well. Let's get this grill fired up. I want to give you a peek at what they looking like the next day. Nice and plump. These babies is nice and tight. I think they're going to be ready to rock. Okay, team. We are on and cracking. We got this thing dialed into about $1.80. I got my babies on directly on the rack. And we're gonna let these hang out. Like I said, we're trying to get to about $1.50. You know, there's hot spots, so we might have to move it here and there. But I'm expecting this to at least be 2.5 hours at this 180 mark before I can get to where I want to be. I didn't go ahead and snip these apart yet. Pretty much I'll wait till after about the first hour. Those casings should lock in real good. And then I'll go ahead and I'll be gentle and get rid of that. But other than that, I'll bring you back and let you see how we look and how this color develops. Okay, team, we still rolling along smooth and easy at 180. Ooh, look at these babies. They getting a little darker. They starting to look like they getting a little smoke on. It's been an hour and 5 minutes. I'm about to flip these babies over, and I think we're about to get some of these babies broke apart. There we go. Flipped over, moved them around a little bit. We're gonna let this go for about another hour at 180, and then we'll start checking these out temp-wise. All right, team. I thought I would come in here and check just to be sure, and I got a few of these done. I'm temping at about 150 on a couple, as you see right there. That one's pushing up to 151 once I went and grabbed my cold ice water. I'm about to be grabbing the ones that are temping at 150 out. They're going into this ice water, which my ice is melting quick out here, and basically they're about to get shocked. And from there, them babies is ready to go. We'll be able to set them to the side. You can start packaging them up or whatever have you, and go from there. So I'm about to get a few of these off. I'm gonna kind of temp through, and then what I'm doing is I kind of come right through pretty much where I cut the thing off, so that way hopefully I don't get them to bust open too much or so on and so forth. You know, you work so hard on them, so we want to try to keep them cool. Let me get these off of here and shock them real quick. Yeah, we at home stretching it now. As you see, I got these babies all shocked in here now, looking beautiful. Got some nice color on there. You see how they tightened up, sealed up nice and easy. So I'm about to let these hang out for a little bit, make sure these things are stopped. And we know we got to taste one, so we're gonna go ahead and kick this temperature up in the grill to 275, and I put the rest of these in the fridge, and they'll stay on ice, and I get ready to get pre-packaged. Okay, we got the old pit up to the 275 mark. The one thing I did neglect to tell you that I did do after we brought these babies out that ice bath was get you a paper towel or something like that, and give them a nice wipe down. You know, they'll have a lot of oil on them and everything. Sometimes you might have a little bit of that dirty smoke depending on how you might have smoked them or whatever. Being that I'm in the pellet grill, everything on here is pretty much clean, but you still get a little bit of stuff that you get to kind of rub off all of that sheen, and then you get a nice pretty casing. We're going to my little run of the bunch. That was that very first one that we started with. They came out looking great. I mean, look at that baby. Look at that. Let's see if we can get a focus in on that. Man, I can't be mad at that. We're going to find out what it tastes like again, even though I already know we are savory. But I'm going to try to get this warmed up to only 150. Now, normally if I was cooking one and I was going to throw this in the bun, I have a whole lot more char on there. So I'm sure I go normally a lot past that. But we want to see how juicy it is, see what our texture look like and everything. So we're going to bring it up to 150. I'll bring these babies out and then we can taste them. All right, team, I want to jump in here real quick before we taste these sauces coming off the grill and go over a couple little tidbits with you along the way that I kind of learned, or more or less that I didn't go over with you along the way in this cook, so you can actually get your sauces together. First off, I'm super happy with how mine have come out, even though I haven't tasted them officially in the casing. The one thing that's a big thing is make sure that you taste your sausage along the way, like I almost forgot to, because it make a huge difference. You know, that's a chance for you to make it a little bit hotter, add a little bit more seasoning to it. What I did, mine really wasn't too bad. I liked where it was at. I loved the way it was tasting, but I didn't want it as quite as salty as it was, and I actually know what it was, and I'll tell you that in a second. But it was something that was on me, and I did know about it along the way. But it was a good chance for me to actually get a chance to manipulate it a little bit before I actually got them in there. And at the end of the day, they smell great, and I already know the way they're looking and everything. I like what we kind of got together. But first and foremost, when you first getting started off, there's only a few things you really need to keep in mind. I kind of alluded to it earlier. You need to kind of break everything down in grams, so you know exactly how much meat you got. And then from there, you got percentages that's going to be breaking down into your recipe, and then you got flavors. Then that's up to you as far as what you want it to taste like. So first off, get your meat, figure out the weight of it in grams, and then from there, the big one is knowing how much binder you were going to be putting in it. I use that milk powder, that dry milk powder. You can go from what I've heard, or more or less read and everything, between like 2 and 4%. I went at 3. That'll kind of help to give you a little bit more snappier sausage and kind of absorb it, and also make it a little bit more fluid and bind all the way throughout. Add a little protein to it, which is never a bad thing. From there, you also need to get your salt ratio down. You can go anywhere between 1 and 2%. I didn't want to make it so salty. I don't usually go for more of the saltier stuff, so I was going for a little bit of that back. I went for 1.5. I think that was absolutely perfect, and I love the recipe I got. The thing that gave mine a little bit more salt than I initially wanted, I had celery seed in my recipe, and instead I didn't have no celery seed. At the last minute, I had celery salt, and I went ahead and went with it, and I said I was going to go a little light. Didn't go light as I wanted to, so I was still able to correct that, and it worked out. But next time, I won't even do that. I'll just go with the straight celery seed, and it'll probably be absolutely perfect with no touches. That was a big thing. So tasting that, being able to check that. So you're looking at 1 to 2% of your salt. We already went over the binder, and then from there, you're looking at your liquid. Whether you use straight water or any type of beer, or I use beef broth and ice. A lot of people like to use ice to help keep that thing a little bit cooler. But no matter what you want to use as far as your overall liquid mixture, is you want to have around 10% of the overall weight. After that, you get into the flavors of what you want to make for your sausage. So those are a couple big things for as far as that recipe to come together to keep in mind. I went with the single grind when I went through, mainly because you do so much work and kind of, you know, folding it together and mixing it all up. It's going to be ground up, and I wanted a little bit more coarser texture on my sausage. Some people do the double grind. You definitely can do whatever you like. One way or another, I'm sure it's going to come out good. The other thing that I'm going to throw in there is about that KitchenAid. I'm somebody that wants to be a minimalist for what it's worth. It never works out. But I hate getting all those extra big appliances that's huge. You don't got nowhere to store them. We got enough stuff as is. I didn't want to have to use that. That KitchenAid rocked out, man. That thing was perfect. Did exactly what I needed to. I'm no big operation or nothing like that. So I mean, at the end of the day, I had 7 pounds of sausage. By the time I took out those 3 packs that I had, which easily were probably a pound each, I probably was only grounding up a good 4 pounds of sausage or something like that. So at the end of the day, it ran right through there. If you're using something like that, the only thing I would assume is obviously you got a little bit weaker motor, so you're gonna have to cut those pieces of your meat up a little bit more, make sure they're not too frozen, so they maybe aren't too hard or whatever have you. But I didn't have no issues. It went right through it. When it came to stuffing it, it went well, and I like the idea of that motor constantly going, and pretty much all I had to do was feed it in there. And it's something like that that definitely helps to have another helping hand with you as well. Other than that, you've seen the process. We about to get back over here to this sausage. Should be almost done. Let's go. Just a side shot in the club, baby. Just a side shot. We got these 2 down here. That was that very first one we made, my sacrificial lamb. I knew he was going down. He was the little homie. But check him out. My skin nice and tight. That whole little baby pyramid over there before I mess with it, that's the ones I had in the refrigerator. So they've been in there chilling out. They're quickly coming up the tent being out here in this 100-degree weather. But look at that. Look at that. Let's get in there. Look at that. Skin nice and tight. You can see everything nice and rendered. But I think we're going to have some nice texture going on up in here. And I already know the flavor is popping because I done tasted it and even just tasted the juice coming off of these ones that I already cooked over here. They already amazing. Let's flip this thing around. Let's get into it. All right, I'm definitely looking at tasting into these. Let's dig right in. Definitely worth your time if you've been making briskets. I tell you what, my brisket game got better. I want to snap right into this one and just see what we looking like. Oh, we got some snap. Check me out on that texture. Let's see some of that. Oh, I like seeing that pepper and everything over there. All right, I gotta give it a taste. Plenty of snap. Great adjustment. My sauce good now. I like where we at. Let me tell you, this is worth your time when you're trimming up your briskets to put them scraps to the side. My briskets got better when I start trimming them a little bit more. Hey, we took the challenge. These babies came out. Check out the stack. Can't go wrong. Killer Miller Q. Until the next week. Peace. I forgot I had to bring you back one time just so I can let you see how these pieces be looking at. Once you see a nice sliced piece, check out that texture. Focus in. So juicy. So flavorful. Oh yeah. We out.